Zdravo, and welcome to episode 5 of SLOgomet, a Slovenian football podcast. On today's episode titled Winter Break Drama, I will be recapping the final match of the Conference League phase, where Celje hosted Shelbourne at the Stadion Zdravo in Celje, Slovenia, Slovenian Transfer news, Slovenian National Team manager news, and a look ahead at the start of the second half of the domestic season. Getting into the episode, first off, I will be talking about the pre-match press conferences, starting off with a quote by Riera talking about the state of Celje ahead of the match with Shelbourne of Ireland. The Irish Championship ended on November 1st, which means that the opponent is not in competitive drive. This would have been a certain advantage for us, but we have had a much more crowded schedule lately, so we are not the freshest. We have to stay focused only on ourselves. And that is from Riera ahead of the match with FC Shelbourne of Ireland. And also highlighted by Riera was the fact that he is very proud of the club's achievements, especially when it comes to the Conference League competition. They are currently on 9 points prior to the match, where last season they ended the Conference League with 7 points and finished in 21st place out of possible 24. And then Juan Pedro Nieto for Celje also added that he loves playing in the competition and that directly qualifying or playing added matches is no different to him. And again, for a lot of these players, just playing in European competition is a dream. For Slovenia, playing in European competition is a great career highlight in and of itself, especially given the state of Slovenian football for some clubs, and I will be getting more into that later, specifically referencing some news about Domžale that has come out over the past week. So, to talk about the match, it was the same story, different match for Celje's previous outings in most recent competitions, specifically also in the European matches where they control the game, they control the pace of the game, they control everything they want to. They have shots on target, they limit their opponent's possession, they limit the opponent's chances on goal. The chances come for the players, and through a bit of exhaustion, a bit of a congested schedule, they just couldn't put the ball in the back of the net, even against a very relatively weak opposition in FC Shelbourne of Ireland. For the stats of the match, Celje hosting Shelbourne, possessed the ball for 70% of the match, had 23 shots, 7 on target, 8 corners, limited to 10 fouls, conceded 2 yellow cards on Celje. They received 6 fouls, yellow card offenses from Shelbourne, and they generated 1 big chance, that being Kovacevic in the early part of the first half, where he failed to slot home a ball that had it was a very clean breakaway for Kovacevic. It was a nice through ball from one of the Celje midfielders, and he dribbled past one defender and managed to beat the keeper on the right-hand side after the keeper came out of goal for Shelbourne. But by the time he had caught back up to the ball, it was already too late, and his shot ended up going into the right side of the net, not inside of the net. And that was the biggest chance of the game for Celje, but that was not the only chance for Celje. There were a handful of chances throughout the entire game, or way more than a handful of chances, a handful of really good chances, though, that easily could have been a win, a goal needed to win, but sadly it wasn't in the cards for Celje on the night. They do still finish in the higher places in European competition. I believe they finished in, that would be, let me see. Yeah, they finished in 13th. I wanted to say 15th for some reason. Celje finished in 13th, which is 8 points higher than what they finished in last season. So even though the players are down on themselves, or in some ways, even the country is a little bit disappointed in the results. The results still speak for themselves. The side still performed much better in the league phase and still has a lot to play for. And when it comes to their potential matches for Celje, the draw will occur on Friday, the 16th of January in 2026, and the potential matches for Celje will be FC Drita of Kosovo or FC Noah of Armenia. And after the match, when talking about the players or the club feeling any disappointment, Albert Riera had this to say on the state of the club. And this is just kind of a point that I had already laid ahead, but it is reiterated here. The fact is that we are not as fresh as we have been in the past few months. The fact is that the key in the last period is with the players. I'm sure there's some fatigue among them after 35 games since July. We played a good game, not perfect, but good. We have nothing to blame, and I said that to the players. There is no reason to be in a bad mood. And I heavily agree with this statement here. I really do think that even though Celje failed to qualify among the top 8 and go directly into the knockout rounds of the Conference League knockout rounds in the top 8 positions, having 2 more games is not necessarily bad, especially considering the fact that Celje are already eliminated from the Slovenian Cup, so that is one less match as a whole there. And there is some very big news regarding Domžale, potentially affecting the number of matches that Celje and every other Prvoliga team will have come the resuming of the second half of the Prvoliga season, but I will get into that more later on. But to reiterate one more time, this is just a very big sign of the improvement of the Slovenian teams or the good Slovenian sides in European competition. The fact that now fans have gone from being or having the hope of competing in European competition to expecting good results in European competition, even when they do not come, is crazy if you think about it. Like, you go from just dreaming of a chance to even make it to the qualifiers or the last chance qualifiers or just being able to play the 6 matches in the league phase to now you're expected to just finish in the top 8. And even though you fail to meet those goals weren't even considered attainable even a year ago. And that is leaps and bounds that Albert Riera and Celje have come in just a year's time. And that is extremely impressive for not only a Slovenian club, but for any club in general, but also for one that comes from a relatively congested schedule too, to just have these expectations put upon them, and it is impressive. So again, I would like to just say that it is awesome for Celje to have these expectations and to be down on the club when they should be at their highest they have been in a long time. It's exciting. It's still exciting regardless of any emotional states of fans or players. And to continue on with that, or to end on that, it's just like, be proud of them. Be proud of the players. Be proud of the club. Be proud of the manager. Be proud of the management staff. And be proud of everyone involved with NK Celje and for the project they are committed to building upon going on forward. And talking about building the project, there is a lot of transfer news regarding Celje, or not too much, but a fair bit of at least important transfer news. So a Croatian sporting newspaper called Sportska has said that Franko Kovacevic may have played his last game for Celje in the Conference League match against Shelbourne. Apparently there is a lot of pardon me. There was a lot of interest in the Croatian striker of Celje, and that is kind of obvious given the fact that he scored 25 goals in 28 competitions, many in the Conference League, although his form has dwindled in recent outings. That is also a lot to do with the congested schedule and a couple of knocks he himself has taken as a player regarding injuries. Um, if Celje were to lose Franko Kovacevic before the end of the Conference League, or at least before the summer transfer window, I would consider it a very big loss for the side. However, they are still currently continuing to rehab Armandis Kuchis of the Lithuanian national team, and that would be a massive buff to Celje should he be able to return healthy. And it's an interesting situation because Celje, I believe that Kovacevic's contract goes until 2028, which means that he would be required, that there would be a fairly sizable buyout for the player, or at least I would assume so. But the management of the club would still have to find either either a like replacement for the player that Albert Rier has come to rely on, or for Armandis Kuchis to step up into that number 9 role and to lead Celje's attack with scoring as many goals, if not more, after once he comes back healthy from his injury, his ACL injury. Rier also talked about this in a recent interview. Um, when he previously mentioned about the idea of building a monster of a club in Slovenia, he had this to say: "We have to be successful now in winter. As I have said many times, I need 4 or 5 months to form this team to create this monster we want to have in June." And to kind of paraphrase a little bit, obviously Celje's goals remain qualifying for Champions League in 2026, and Riera believes the club management will provide him with gifts, quote unquote, in the new year in terms of quality players that can compete for Champions League positions, like true Champions League quality players, and those can truly come from anywhere. Players from even youth leagues around Europe could. I don't know what Celje's scouting team looks like. I have no idea where they have their ears and hands dug around Europe or the world otherwise, but I imagine that if Albert Riera has vetted the recruits that he deems fit for his Champions League monster project in 2026, that we could end up seeing some very exciting names come through, and I am looking forward to getting to know these players who might lead Slovenia to another Champions League deep run, which has not happened for a while, last ran by Maribor in 2016, or maybe even later than that, but it has not happened since Maribor has been a dominant side in the Pervaliga. Um, so to move on from Celje, I guess one last point to reiterate about Celje and Franko Kovacevic is that Kovacevic is getting lots of or a lot of the scouting is coming from sides in Italy and Germany. I believe that he himself wants to compete in a Tier 1 league in the Bundesliga or in Serie A. Excuse me, pardon me. And this comes from the fact that Croatia's selector or manager for the national team, excuse me, I hope I am not getting the hiccups mid-recording. That would really suck. Um, The manager for the Croatian national team recently added him to the extended list of candidates to take with him to the 2026 World Cup hosted in the United States, Mexico, and Canada. And Kovacevic's goal is to make that team in any means necessary. And if the goal of that it takes him to a higher quality league overall, such as the Bundesliga, Serie A, Liga, and any other high quality club and competition around Europe, then best wishes to him from the Slovenian Conference League qualifier side of Celje, and all I can do is wish for a massive compensation package to come in for the club. So now to go on to some very, very, very depressing news regarding Damjale. I do now have updates on the state of the club. Um, Damjale may be filing for bankruptcy, according to this article by Nogomania, before the resuming of the 2026 season or 2025-2026 season. They have accumulated a insurmountable or an pardon my word usage, a insurmountable amount of debt that they cannot properly clear ahead of the continuation of the competition, and 10 players have already terminated their contracts with the club, including a couple of their key players, a couple of internationals from Greece and other countries, and also a lot of youth players. And Damjala used to be known as a very good development club, as I have referenced in the past in prior episodes regarding Benjamin Šeško's journey through Damjale to become a world-class striker. Mitja Ilinic also came up through the Damjale youth system, in which case he is competing for MLS Cups in America and competing against some of the greats like Lionel Messi, even though he lost in the 2025 season for the MLS. And just reading through this article, it seems like the big thing was the COVID-19 pandemic that really started to push the club downhill. They basically could never really gain a financial footing outside of or past the COVID-19 pandemic, and the debt has accumulated to such massive amounts that there is no possible way to even pay the players who continue to play for the club in its current state. And as many football fans know, that is extremely illegal, to say the least, and can lead to much more serious problems for the management of the club, not regarding the licensing agreement with the Pro Liga to allow them to compete, or the let alone the, you know, um, existence of the club as a whole, but the actual management staff could be taken to court in this regard, and they could be sued directly for the failure to supply funds to the players who rightfully paid for their paycheck, regardless of the outcome of their play. That is what they are paid to do. They are paid to go out there and play football. And if Damjale is gone, there are a lot of things that could happen in terms of the Perfect Liga season. As the Nogomania article here written by Mia Zupan, this was released on Monday, December 22nd. It seems as though it is possible for either the remainder of the 2026 season would be every single team that is scheduled to play Damjale would be registered with a free win or a scratch of some kind. I am not sure how the rules will work out there. It would be extremely messy for every team to be guaranteed a free 3 points in any regard. And another possibility is, if I could find the exact quotes here. So that the previous 18 results will remain intact. The other possibility is that all of the this is oh man, this would be extremely, I don't even know how this would work. All of the matches played prior to the winter break would be deleted from the competition. I don't know what that means. I don't know how that would work, but either way, if Damjale cannot compete in the 2025-2026 season for the back half of the season, there are going to be a lot of messy problems that will occur due to this. And I hope that somehow the players can earn or can receive their funding, or that the club can at least pay out the players for the remainder of the season, that they can at least field a starting 11 and can get through the season at minimum. And this would also prevent the club from going into complete solvency, which would allow a potential investor to actually come in and save the club if they deemed it a worthwhile investment. Other than that, the club would more than likely fall into solvency. And if it falls into solvency, this is a not necessarily frequent occurrence for other clubs in Europe. This has also happened in the Slovenian leagues in the past as well. The club would functionally cease to exist, but could be brought back almost exactly as it was, just under a new name or under a paraphrased name, such as with Olympia. Olympia used to exist as just Olympia. Now they exist as Olympia Ljubljana after a solvency and bankruptcy issue that occurred in the past. There is a big, that could be an entire off-season episode or something. Some project I could do in the future regarding all of the histories of the Perverliga clubs, or at least like big Perverliga clubs, but I will digress for now. So yeah, Celje, or not Celje, Domžale, if they are officially dead, I will update you all next week, but as it stands right now, it seems like Domžale are more than likely dead, and that the Perverliga season might possibly be played out with a remainder of just 9 teams, which would be good news for any team continuing to compete in the domestic cup competition. It would also be good news for Celje, who would have one less match in the remaining competitions, which would free up a little bit more training space and whatnot for the focus on the Conference League, which would be good. Another thing I am curious is how this would affect would be the Perverliga payouts for the finishing status of the clubs. Like, I wonder if, say for example, Domžale are already dead, will clubs 1 through 9 pick up a part of the payment funds for that? Or uh, this is again a little bit of digressing and a little bit of just me being curious, but it is just a sad and terrible situation for everyone involved. I wish all the best to all the players, to the staff, to the coaching. Um, I'm not sure how to feel about the management who managed to put a club into this situation, as that is always a messy subject. But uh, my the biggest thing I will say is that my heart absolutely goes out to the fans of Domžale. Seeing some fans who have lived with the club since the day they were born, who have been this is something dear to my heart. Fandom for a club is very important to some people's own cultural identity or their identity as a person, and to see that fail to even exist or diminish down to a lower league, and it's just completely ripped out from your life. My heart goes out to you, and I wish you the best of luck, and I wish your club the best of luck, and I hope that this eventually works out in the end. Up next, I will move on from Domžale to talk about the next big piece of news we have in the Perverliga, or regarding Perverliga sides, is Maribor, or NK Maribor's transfer news, and the announcement of NK Maribor's B team. NK Maribor has purchased, or it's a little bit weirdly worded, but it seems like Maribor will be either purchasing or incorporating Illyria of Ljubljana into the Maribor football ecosystem, and will be using them as a functional academy team, which exists in many leagues across Europe, such as in the MLS, where they have their own complete dedicated academy system. This also exists in the Premier League. This exists in Germany, where they have a lot of B teams who compete in much lower leagues, where they play a bunch of quality players in there as they kind of build their way up through the ranks onto the main roster. Uh, And as it seems right now, it's a little bit interesting. Pardon me, I'm kind of reading the article to try and refresh myself here. Um, the Illyria youth system will remain in Ljubljana. The uh, main Illyria team will move to the uh, region of which Maribor lives in, and or exists in rather, and they will be a full unit in a sense. It seems like that Illyria will still obviously compete in the lower leagues. I'm wondering how this would work if Illyria were to ever qualify into the Prva Liga, if the Slovenian um, NZS will allow that to happen. A lot of clubs or a lot of leagues also have protections against the idea of a sister team competing with another sister team in a top league setting. But this quote by um, Sem Bazgul, the footballing manager of Maribor, when it was announced, had this to say on the subject. Um, Slovenian football does not have a reserve league or under 21 league as it is known in the UK, which creates a real gap between youth and member football. That is why we are preparing a project that will come to life in 2026 and will manage this transition more efficiently and better prepare young players for Premier League football. Uh, that's overall a net positive, especially if Maribor can start to compete again. It would be nice to see a real quality top four competition between some of the big clubs in Slovenia instead of it just being kind of a one horse race with a loose tail behind it in like it has been in the past couple of seasons. But this has not fully happened yet, and I am looking forward to seeing how this will be integrated into the future for Maribor. But Maribor also has some not so positive transfer news when it comes to talking about the operations and player management of Maribor. Sam Bazgul also had this to say on the players that he has employed with the club of Maribor. We are working on creating a better balance in the team. This includes honest conversations with players whose current roles no longer fully match our plans. The first move has been made. We have parted ways with Guchko and wish him all the best in his future career. We have also received offers for Sikoshek, who was the team captain and always showed professionalism and respect, even in difficult moments. Mbina has attracted a lot of interest due to his profile, and we are also receiving offers for transfers or loans for some other players. In the coming weeks, we will make decisions that are fair and right for both the players and the club. We are planning to sign a striker and another option on the wing. Players who join the team later, such as Celje or Zambrano, will greatly benefit from training in January and will become more integrated into the team. Vidmar has also returned after a long injury, and I am pleased with both his attitude and his work in training. We have another internal reinforcement, Žiga Reipas, who will join us in February after his recovery. This is another reason why the preparatory period will be very important, as it will allow us to raise the team to the physical level we expect and create a more balanced and competitive squad. So that was a long quote from Head of Footballing Operations Sem Bazgul of Maribor, and it seems like Maribor seems to be going all in on the remaining 2026 season. Do they believe that they can catch the points gap between them and Celje, which currently stands at the current points gap between them is 12 points. I thought it was 11. I'm glad I checked. Uh, Do I think that they will catch them? That remains to be seen as a likely thing that will happen. Um, I don't think so, to put it bluntly. I think that Celje will more than likely win the domestic league and will continue to hopefully compete in the conference league. Um, to jump back on the Celje point real quick, I would just like to say that if between the two options of FC Jodita and FC Noah, I think I would prefer for, excuse me, I would prefer for Celje to line up against FC Judita. I believe that they are more than likely the weaker side of the two, all things considered, but I am no expert in either club, and I'm sure the club has ideas for who they would prefer to face, and I'm sure that the staff there will prepare accordingly, regardless of who the opponent will be. And I would like to believe and expect that Celje will make the round of 16 and maybe even further into the competition than last year, and I'm excited for the continuation of the Conference League when it picks back up in February. So, moving on to some national team news. On the Slovenian sports show Pod Prečko, the host interviewed Vojtenko Mijatovic, the president of the NTS, and we have this update on the current search for a national team manager. So, when acknowledging Vieira's recently publicly expressed willingness to lead Slovenia, Mijatovic had this to say on his currently unresolved decision. Um, Albert Vieira is an expert who has brought a new philosophy to Slovenia, a new style that is, above all, successful. He was successful at Olympia and Celje, which plays a style of football that, in my opinion, appeals to the whole of Slovenia. As someone who does not live in Slovenia, I would also like to say it appeals to me and to many international fans. If you were to look at the social media comments and pages of the FC Celje pages and other highlights, like such as other media pages, including the Conference League official pages, where Celje are amassing not just a local fan base, but quite an international fan base in a way, as well as other Slovenian clubs when they have successfully competed. It is very fun to see them compete. But continuing on from Mijatovic, if Vieira were alone as such, not in a dual role, he would be a suitable candidate. Mijatovic had concluded when talking about this topic on Pod Prečko. And my thoughts on this are that if you think he is a suitable candidate, if he weren't leading Celje, who do you have in mind that isn't also currently leading a club or who has not expressed interest in leading the national team? Because as it stands right now, Albert Vieira is still your, in my opinion, the best possible manager for the current generation of Slovenian talent. Another thing that he emphasized also when talking about this on Pod Prečko is that he has not even begun talks with any of the other candidates, though we know that the preference is for a Slovenian manager, and the deadline for that is quickly approaching. The end of the year is, as of the recording of this episode, a little over 2 weeks away, and the official deadline, that is not the end of the year, is just over 2 months away. One final addition that he talked about when it comes to the search for a national team manager is that the national team players will not have a significant say in the search for a new coach. He will do this himself with the help of a small group of experts. Who those experts are, I do not know. This is a little bit worrying if you are hoping for good news out of the Slovenian national team camp, in my opinion. It's kind of unlucky in the sense that it is being addressed this bluntly in a negative way, especially considering the fact that Albert Vieira has clearly shown interest. The players have his full support in becoming the manager. He has the backing of his club management staff. And his style of football is, even if it doesn't always succeed, it is still extremely entertaining. If I were to go back to the Shelbourne match earlier this week, or in the past week, even though Celje failed to win that game, the match was another extremely, extremely entertaining match. It was high action, high energy across the pitch all the time, and it was, if you were a neutral and you just decided to, hey, let's see this Shelbourne versus Celje match on the Conference League channel. Oh wow, this is very entertaining. I don't think I'm going to turn this off. I would love to see the rating statistics for Celje matches in the Conference League. I imagine they're probably quite high if you were to see the average between the population of the cities and nations that Celje are competing against versus some of the other massive sides that are also competing in the Conference League. Um, I'm sure that the Celje versus Rijeka match ended up drawing a very large number of viewers. I am very confident in that statement. But again, Mijatovic, it just please don't shoot the progress that this team has made in the foot any more than it has already been dragged down. That is all I can really say on this topic now until we get more information in the future. Um, a little bit more news that has recently come across my um, little computer here. Olympia is setting the target for Dario Visinger of Murda. It seems that Celje are also in the market for the striker from Murda, um, as Franko Kovacevic will probably be departing. Uh, seems that um, according to this is an article that just came up from the Nogomania website by Miran Zorde. Ivan Durdov of Olympia Ljubljana could potentially uh, leave or go down to a different club or lower league club or transferred maybe to Murda in like a trade. Um, and if Olympia do pick up Dario Visinger, I would love to see Dario Visinger in a system that is complete, not like the system that Murda are currently running because they are still competing for relegation. I didn't think about this earlier, by the way. I don't know how relegation would work if Domžale are officially bankrupted. Uh, that's an interesting thing I did not think about. So would the 90th place team go down into immediate relegation and the 8th place team play the playoff? That is a headache for the NZS and the Pro Liga management teams, and I am very thankful that that is not up to me. Um, Dario Visinger, 27-year-old striker from Murda, very class player, is performing even on a very poor side at the moment. Him playing for the Dragons or playing for the Violet or the Dukes of Celje, any one of those three clubs would be a very interesting proposition, but the official transfer window has not opened. That opens on January 15th, and I'm sure there will be plenty of rumors that will have a amount of evidence to them or have just complete crazy rumors around them between now and then. Speaking of rumors, let me see if there's anything crazy going on here. Nope, I was just checking Ep5 to see if there was anything, any weird anything funny going on at Ep5. They tend to have a couple of funny articles, like the one regarding the Sanchez reaching out about the national team. Yeah, but it seems like nothing funny coming out of Ep5 as of right now. So, I guess that just about finishes up. This is a little bit of a 40-minute runtime, not a extremely short episode. Looking forward to, again, hopefully getting some of the YouTube content up hopefully this week. It is the holidays after all. I wish that all of you have a very Merry Christmas. Vesel Božica, Bežic, I believe, is the Slovenian pronunciation of that. Vesel Bežic and in Traditional Novo Leto, which I will have an episode out before the start of the new year anyways. But I wish you all a very happy holidays, a Merry Christmas. May all of you have a wonderful a wonderful Christmas, a wonderful holiday season, and may you enjoy the remainder of winter, or the remainder before Christmas, surrounded by friends and family. Definitely sip on some hot cocoa and eggnog, my two personal favorites. And I will see you all next week in the new episode of SLOgomet. This has been SLOgomet, a Slovenian football podcast, episode 5. Um, Let me just scroll up. I forgot what I titled it. Winter break drama. This has been episode 5 of SLOgomet. I will see you all next week. Ciao, vala, adio.